One of my most recreated projects is actually this basket light that I created quite a while back, probably about 2 years ago. It was an IKEA hacks video as well, and I figured let's go ahead and do an updated version today. So I absolutely love taking baskets like this one. This one here is from IKEA. It is the Hurring basket, and I'm also going to be using the Hema cord. This is just like a wall plug-in cord. And what I started off by doing was flipping the basket over, and then I took the cord kit and I placed the top section where the light bulb actually kind of screws in on top, traced around it on the bottom side of the basket, and used an X-Acto knife just to cut out a hole shape here. Traditionally, I would probably use like a drill or a pair of scissors. However, the bottom of this particular basket is very, very hard for some reason, so I just felt like the X-Acto knife would be a little bit better in terms of keeping it intact. So that's exactly what I did. It took me a minute or two to cut through that section, and then I really wanted to camouflage that this was a basket, so I ended up cutting off those leather handles there, but I'm gonna keep those because I feel like I can use them in the future for something. And to finish off the project, all you have to do is just kind of tuck that cord kit right inside of that hole, flip it around to the opposite side, and you're gonna screw on the little attachment that makes it stay in place, and then just screw your light bulb in, and you are good to go. This created such a cute, chic pendant lamp. I've been so in love with kind of distressed vintage style pottery lately, and I found this piece at IKEA here. It is a ceramic vase, and it was actually on sale for just about $5. And then I also grabbed some joint compound from my stash, and I am going to start off by kind of just using my finger and rubbing some joint compound on the entire exterior of this vase. Now, this color of vase is not my favorite. It's quite bright, so we are going to be transitioning this into a more moody, kind of vintage inspired distressed piece, and I wanted to start off by creating a brand new texture on the front side. So that's what I'm doing with this joint compound here, and there's no rhyme or reason to this at all. You just want to kind of create a new texture. You're gonna wanna go ahead and let that joint compound fully dry down, and then what I did was I grabbed some black acrylic paint and some baking soda because we are going to be creating the iconic ceramic paint. So all you have to do for this is kind of mix equal parts of paint and baking soda. Of course, the more baking soda you add, the thicker consistency that you get. I traditionally like it to be a little bit thicker so I can add more texture, and you're gonna wanna go ahead and paint this on the entire exterior of the vase. But the great thing about this is I feel like I never have to do more than one coat for some reason when I do the baking soda paint, so that's amazing. I painted this on the entire outside. I grab my heat tool to just speed up the process a little bit, and yes, you guys, this is actually a heat tool. So many people are like, that's not a heat tool, that is a hair dryer, and I'm like, no, it's an actual legit heat tool, and it's super quiet as well, which I love. So I'll try to link this below if I can find it online for you guys. I got this like 8 or 9 years ago. This is the texture that you get though. It is so cool and it's great as is. However, I'm taking it the extra step, and I went outside, I grabbed some dirt from the garden, and I'm mixing a little bit of water in there to create a mud consistency, and I'm just going to kind of like effortlessly paint this on the exterior of our vase. And the great thing about this is that when it dries down, all of the dirt and kind of sand residue settles in the cracks, and it just discolors the paint a little bit, and then you can go ahead and wipe it off. So as you can see here, as I'm drying the vase down, the actual black paint, it shifts a little bit and almost gets a little bit distressed and worn as if it's been outside for a long time, which that is the look I'm trying to go for. So once you are done with that, just go ahead and scrape off any excess dirt or mud, and that's all there is to it. It's a really cute, inexpensive, distressed pottery piece. Now this project here is not a hack. However, I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen this at IKEA. It is from the kids section, and it is a weaving loom. I have never personally seen this before, and I've never ever seen someone share it or talk about it on YouTube or anything of the nature. So I figured I was gonna go ahead and purchase this child's weaving loom and see if I can create something cute on it, because I always love weaving. I have a weaving loom myself, and this is just a fun little take on it, and it was only 20 bucks. So I went ahead and followed the instructions and I put it together. It was so super easy to create, which I loved that. And then I also absolutely love the needle that it comes with. It has a large eye, which is great for thicker yarns. And guys, I also want to mention that I'm not going to go through an entire tutorial on how to weave in this video, because I have an entire video on my channel dedicated to how to weave a tapestry like this, and I also show how to create your very own loom as well. So I'll put that in a card up top if you are curious. However, I'm just going through and I wanted to see if this was actually a workable, usable loom, and I can tell you guys right now, it was incredible. I've also never woven upright, if that makes sense. Like this loom stands up. I normally always just do it in my lap. So I went ahead and I just kind of grabbed an assortment of neutral color yarns, and I also added a little pop of green in there and created this really cute tapestry piece. So I'll just let you guys kind of watch as I create. I think a key element to any great tapestry is mixing up the textures and thicknesses of your yarns, and then also kind of mixing up the tones of colors that you're using as well. And then on the bottom, just to finish it off, I wanted to add a simple little tassel here. So how I did that was I cut about 24 inches of yarn, and I'm going to stick the halfway point, or like the loop little section of the folded yarn, from the backside to the front, and then pull those little left and right strands on either side of our string. And you're just gonna slip those right through that hole that you originally pulled through. Just pull it tight and push it up to the top of your tapestry there, and that creates a little tassel on the bottom there, which is very, very cute. I love having those on the bottom of my tapestry. It also easily makes it a lot longer, so you don't have to weave it anymore. And I also went ahead and tied all my loose ends from where I kind of started and stopped the yarn. And then to take it off the loom, what I do is I just go ahead and I cut the two strands that are next to each other, or the neighboring strands, and I just tie them in a simple square knot until the top and bottom is removed from the loom. I don't exactly know if this is the most proper way to do it. However, I wanted to do it this way, and I also opted to not add a wooden dowel to the top of this one. I'm doing a little bit of a different method. And the said method involves a little piece of cardboard or chipboard. I'm just cutting a small little section here that I'm going to be gluing on the backside just to add some stability to the top there, because it's a pretty flimsy piece, of course, made of just yarn. I'm using some Fabri-Tac adhesive, gluing this to the top section that you guys can see. And then this is also the backside, by the way. And I'm also gonna go ahead and glue on a little hanging section, which just consists of about a 12-inch piece of yarn. I'm gonna tape that down while it dries on there, and that finishes off your tapestry. The IKEA loom worked incredibly, highly suggested if you're in the market for one. And yeah, I love this project. And this is the project we have all been waiting for. I found this Ivar cabinet at the As Is section in IKEA. It was only $49, and I was like, let's go ahead and flip this. I had a vision in my head right when I saw it, and what I went ahead and did was I measured the length of the front of the door first, because I found these 1/2-inch wooden dowels at Lowe's. They were $4.50 per 8-foot section, and I ended up getting about 21 of these for the entire project. However, if you do have the skill set to cut down a piece of plywood into 1/2-inch sections, you can totally do that as well. I just do not have the capability to do that. So I bought these 1/2-inch dowels, and what I am doing is I'm first cutting them to be the exact height of my cabinet door fronts. Now the door fronts are actually a little bit different than the side pieces for some reason. I'm not sure why, because they look pretty similar, but I ended up cutting a lot of these for the door fronts, and then we're also going to be cutting them for the side pieces as well. But what we're going to start off by doing is just placing our farthest left little dowel section on and using a nail gun to nail it down. Now I started off with using 1.5-inch nails, which ended up resulting in the nail going through the other side like this. So I ended up going back to Lowe's and I picked up some 1-inch nails, which as you can see are much shorter, and they were perfect. So once I got back, I was able to continue on, and this is actually a very simple process. All you have to do is place down one of your wooden dowels as a spacer, and then place another dowel right next to it, butting it up to your spacer piece, and then nail down your piece of wood and then pull out the spacer, if that makes sense. I feel like this is a very hard thing to explain. It's a little bit more simple if you kind of see what I'm doing on the screen here, but basically what I'm doing is I'm placing down my wooden dowel, and there's a spacer in between where I'm going to be spacing out the wood. So basically every 1/2 inch there is a wooden dowel stapled out. However, it's just much easier to use a wooden dowel as a spacer since I want everything to be very symmetrical as well. So I finished the entire front of this cabinet by nail gunning down all of the wooden dowels across the front of it, and once this is stained, you can really see that texture, but as a light wood like this, it's kind of hard to tell. So I repeated the process across the other front door, and you can kind of see how I'm doing it a little bit easier here. We We are then going to go ahead and repeat the process on the sides as well, because the main sections that are going to be showing are the sides and the top. So I cut out the wooden dowels and I repeated the same exact process by cutting them down and then nail gunning them to the side of the cabinet, both the left and right side. And then we gotta go ahead and create the base for this, which I really think elevates the whole piece. So I grabbed these 1x6s and I cut out 2 pieces that were 27 inches and 2 pieces that were 6 1/4 inch. Basically, we're gonna be creating a box on the bottom using some of these 2 1/4 inch screws. Very similar to my bench tutorial, if you guys remember. This is just such a simple woodworking technique, not even a technique, because this is nothing crazy at all. I don't even know what I'm doing, but it seemed right in my head. So basically what I'm doing is I'm screwing through our longer sections into our shorter sections, and we are going to be creating a wooden box, which is then going to be underneath our cabinet and prop it up and kind of give it a level of interest. And I just knew I needed to add some more detail to that bottom section as well. So what I did was I cut down these spare ending pieces from the dowels I cut originally. I cut them down to the same exact height of our little box section that's going to be the base of our cabinet, and I stapled them around using the same exact technique. And now comes time to attach the pieces together. So of course I didn't add those little detail sections to the backside because no one's going to see that, but I'm going to be using these little L brackets here. I picked these up at the hardware store. There's just simple 2 little screws that go on each side, and it's going to be attaching our legs or the base to the cabinet itself. So I just went ahead and I added 4 of these all around the entire interior of the box. That's why I loved creating the box, because it allowed me to easily attach these in. Once you have that on there, it's nice and sturdy and good to go. And of course we want a nice clean finish before staining, so I grabbed this stainable wood filler and I'm going to fill all of our little brad nail holes, and once that's dried down, just use a nice fine sandpaper to remove any of that filler residue over the top. So here you can see what we are working with so far. I am so obsessed with the base of this, but you really can't see the details. So I'm going to make this pop using some True Black Wood Finish by Minwax. This is just like a wood stain, and I went in with a stain brush and I went around and painted the entire exterior, every single nook and cranny with this stain here. Now guys, I do suggest wearing gloves for this because I got it all over my hands and they were stained like crazy afterwards. However, it was totally worth it because this project turned out amazing in the end. And when I initially painted on the black wood stain, it was so dark, but as it dried, it kind of soaked into the wood and you can really see the wood grain through it, which is something I really wanted to see through, was that wood grain, while it still had that kind of like dark black wood look, if that makes sense. I let the stain dry overnight just so that it could really penetrate the wood, and then in the morning I went ahead and I grabbed a drill and I'm going to be drilling through the front to add some handle pulls. Originally I wasn't going to do this, but I loved these ones that I found at Lowe's. They were just like such a soft, warm toned, like golden silver color. They were just really pretty. They were almost like a champagne tone, and that just finished off this cabinet. I love the outcome.